back to another episode of the GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Neander, and I only have one question for you. Are you ready for some football? Oh man, it's day one of football. Today is Thursday, September 10th. It's about noon here on the East Coast, so we're just over 8 hours away from kickoff, the first game of the season. I'm pretty psyched, man. I gotta tell you, it's pretty funny because I'm getting near 40 here, and I could hardly sleep last night. I swear, it was like a kid on Christmas Eve, just restless, that like anxiety, that good anxiety though, right? Really though, it's a lot of fun waiting for the season. The wait is over. It's just such an odd preseason, right? With just all of us, being stuck for the most part, in our house or around our house. There's no preseason games, so it's just like, we've gotten very little bit of information here and there, mostly just projecting things, and hoping a little coach speak here and there, a little bit of hard knocks, right? But, it's weird. And then all of a sudden tonight, boom, 8 hours from now, we're going to have live football. And I am excited, man. I really am. We got the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs tonight, which we're going to start going over here in just a few minutes. So now that we're into the season, let's just go over again. I want to talk to you about the show schedule, so you know when to find us and what you're going to be getting from us. When the week starts, today's Thursday, but on a normal week, we're going to we'll do episodes Monday through Friday. They'll be available by early to mid-afternoon. And on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be reviewing the week that just happened, right? So this upcoming Monday and Tuesday, we'll be reviewing the games that happened on Thursday and Sunday. And then on Wednesday, it'll be kind of a wild card day. Might be a lot of different kinds of segments in there. Some more fun segments with some different guests and maybe some games and some different ideas we're going to do on Wednesday. A little bit of a wild card kind of day, if you will. And then Thursday and Friday, we're going to split the days, previewing the next week's action. So every Thursday, we'll talk about the Thursday night game, and then a handful at least of the other games. And on Friday, we'll finish it out. And as we talk about every game, we're going to be letting you know about injuries and our starts and sits for those games for the week and where we project them, and what their playability is on your roster. So I'm going to get that started in just a couple of minutes. I know people have been asking me if you watched some of the draft prep series. You might be wondering how my drafts went. I'm thrilled with the teams that I drafted in my leagues. Only a couple of what I would call brain farts throughout my drafts. There were a couple of picks I wasn't happy with, but overall, very excited about my team. I was able to get a lot of my guys. So if you were watching the episodes, I got some shares of Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, who all three of those guys were like my favorite of that next batch, right? The post-Kamara, post number 5 batch of running backs. Those three were my favorites, so I got some good shares of them. Also, Tyler Lockett, Juju Smith-Schuster, and especially Michael Gallup. Unfortunately, I kept gambling on Gallup going into the 6th. I was able to get him into 6th in a lot of my drafts, and whether or not, because people knew he was my guy, maybe I played into it, I really don't know. But I missed out on Gallup in a couple of leagues, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. If he maybe doesn't have a really good week 1, which I think he is going to have a really good week 1, honestly. But if he doesn't, and I have someone on my bench that performs well that I don't think I really need, I definitely might make a play for Gallup in both the leagues where I didn't get him. So, that's possible. But again, it's all about just keeping an eye on it, right? Knowing the guys that you want, seeing how they're playing. If you got to formulate some trades for them, then that's what you got to do. But, if you really like someone, you believe in them, you got to go for them. And that's just why I want to talk about how my drafts went, because I was able to get a lot of the guys that I was targeting in specific rounds. So for me, I really think it paid off to do all those mock drafts and to do them from every spot. Not only did I have a better idea of the guys I wanted to target in each round, I just felt like I had an overall better idea of the flow of the draft, who was going to go where. If I had to take a break, for 5 or 10 minutes while the draft was going on, I could do that and, come back and look at the draft board and feel, pretty confident that, that I knew who was going to be off the board when I came back. And that's kind of how it went. So, was very happy about it. We'll see. You don't win at the draft, as they always say, but I did get some good grades in one of my big leagues, maybe my main league. I got the only A grade from the draft. And then, there are a bunch of B's, but, projections and draft grades, mean nothing. But, hey, I'll take the first victory of the season, right? For me, the draft is like the first game almost. I don't know. I'm competitive. I'll take the fake draft grade victory. Okay, so sue me, right? All right, but that was a good time. So we got real football, y'all. 8:20 tonight Eastern Time, kicking off the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions. And right off the bat, I want to let you know that I do have Kansas City repeating. I know it's kind of a chalk pick, but I do think they are going to get back to the Super Bowl and have a great chance of winning. I think they're going to be playing the Seattle Seahawks this year. So my pick is Chiefs and the Seahawks, with the Chiefs winning. I do think that Baltimore, as well as Tennessee, both have very, very strong chances to make it. My niece, who is a footballaholic at this point, she's big on Tennessee this year, and she definitely knows her stuff. I don't want to bet against her, honestly. So. And then in the NFC, there's a lot of competition there as well. I do think Green Bay is going to be a really good team again this year. You don't have to worry about Tom Brady and the Bucs. You still got Breeze and the Saints. You have the 49ers. There's a lot of talent in the league right now, honestly. So yeah. But tonight we get to see two of the best. Definitely two of the highest paid, if not the two highest paid, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. So let's start with the Texans here. As far as injuries go in this game, there's not that many, relevant injuries or questionable statuses. The one big one is Brandon Cooks. We don't know if he's going to be playing. It's a quad injury, and right now all these leg injuries, these quads and hamstrings are, popping up everywhere. So, Brandon Cooks, I think, was already a question what the share was going to be. You didn't have to draft him as someone you had to start anyway. You were getting him in the post-7th round. So, for me right now, the biggest thing is that I definitely wouldn't be starting Brandon Cooks with that, that outside chance that it is a shootout, which it definitely may be. But I do definitely want to play Will Fuller. Right now he's healthy. Take advantage of the games where he's going to play for sure. If Cooks is questionable, then I think that only helps give a little bit of a bump to Fuller anyway. I also think you want to play Randall Cobb if you're indecisive about your flex spot now. So if you have either a 3 wide receiver league or a 2 flex league, or you're just worried about who your third person is because of injury or anything else, I think Randall Cobb is playable in that slot. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get 7 or 8 targets, maybe even 10 targets. I'm not expecting him to have long passes or lots of air yards for his targets. And I don't know if he'll get in the end zone or not, but he has as good a chance of anybody outside of Will Fuller, I think. And I'd be fine with playing Cobb in that, 4th spot. Again, if it's a deeper roster where there's 3 wide receivers or 2 flexes, or you're just in a tight spot for week 1, which I don't know why you would be, but I still think Cobb is very playable as probably a wide receiver 3, possibility here to see what happens. If Cooks is out, I think that's even stronger. So let's see, David Johnson, new to the Texans. Again, right now, take advantage of he's healthy. You assume he's going to get the workload. So we talk about both sides of the coin, right? The narrative coin. So you could say, well, they might be in a negative game script, by the second half where they're having to throw the ball. And, that's fine. But David Johnson, once upon a time, was an excellent, I would say excellent receiving running back. And just because they have Duke Johnson, I don't think that means that every single time it's a passing down that you have to take David Johnson out of there. I think, for 2 reasons. One, it limits your, unpredictability, right? You don't want to get into that situation where everybody knows if Duke Johnson's on the field, it's a pass, and if David Johnson's on the field, it's a rush. And you're not losing much. It's debatable about whether or not Duke Johnson is the better pass-catching back out of the backfield. So, I don't think that's necessarily, for me, the side of the coin of the narrative that I'm going with. I think David Johnson can definitely be out there on the field in those passing downs if they are, in fact, behind. And where you drafted David Johnson, he's fine as a flex tonight. I'd be worried as an RB2. But if he's your RB2, you're going to probably have to go with him anyway. I do think he'll get the volume. He'll have, probably 18 to 20 carries. And, that should work out fine for you. So, that the Chiefs are going to have to play back a little bit. Deshaun Watson can sling it out there. So, yep. In KC, you're playing everybody. There's no injuries here. All the obvious guys are, Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. You're playing all those guys. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're absolutely playing. So just going outside those main guys, Darrell Williams, again, is in that same position as a Randall Cobb. If you have a very deep league with multiple flexes, or you had some random injury, or COVID issues on your team, I think Darrell Williams will get enough touches to be playable, and that a touchdown could very well happen for him. So, I'm not expecting him to be some RB2 or top scoring running back on the week, but I do think that Darrell Williams could score 10 points. Again, in my book, that's playable more later in the year than week 1, hopefully, but it could happen. Going outside the receivers, past Kelsey and Hill, if I was going to play one of them, it would probably be Mecole Hardman. I know Sammy Watkins had the absolute monster week 1 and also finished off pretty well in the postseason last year. But if I had to pick one to play, I'd be playing Mecole Hardman. That being said, I'm probably not playing either of them. Again, it's week 1. There's no reason to start one of these guys over someone you drafted higher that should be in a better position. But if for some reason you're asking me, who's ahead, for me, it's definitely Mecole Hardman. I'm going to take the shot that he's going to make the play. But we know Sammy Watkins is going to get probably 6, plus Patrick Mahomes targets down the field. And those are extraordinarily high value. Unfortunately, he did not do much with a lot of high value targets last year. So that's where I'm betting, all right? But, we're going to move past this game because we have a lot to get to. But I just want to say that I'm psyched for this game, man. I really am. I know I've said it a few times already. I'm just ready for football, man. Yep. It's going to be a good time tonight. So, got just a couple friends coming over. We're going to stay nice and socially distant from each other in the living room. But just a couple people coming over to watch the game and enjoy it. So, hope you all have a great time watching the game wherever you are. Just be safe, be responsible, please, and be thoughtful of others, All right, man, so let's move on to the Sunday games. We're going to go through about half of them here. Obviously, no bye weeks yet, so we have quite a lot of games to get to. We're going to start here in where I'm living, Atlanta. The Seattle Seahawks are coming to visit the Atlanta Falcons. Should be a really nice game for fantasy purposes here. I do think you're going to see a good amount of points, and you're going to see a lot of the stars, kind of show out here. So this is a game that I'd be targeting where I want to have lots of action. If I'm playing DFS, I want to see their ownership rate, but I'd definitely be playing some players in this game. So for Seattle, I think you run out every starter they have outside of tight end. So Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, all should be in your lineup this week at Atlanta. Now, past that, I don't think you can go past that for receivers for Seattle. You're certainly not going past that, for running back. You don't need to play Carlos Hyde. I think, Carson will get the bulk of the work. So I guess the question here is at tight end, do you take a shot at Greg Olsen, Will Dissly? I think this early in the year, I wouldn't want to take a shot at either guy. We don't know who's going to be on the field more. We don't know, if they're going to be looking their way or not. We've seen Russell Wilson be very effective passing to the tight end, including Will Dissly, who came back from that big injury. But, I got to see it first. Neither one of these guys were drafted to be a tight end 1, and in week 1 you don't have to play Greg Olsen. But I'm interested. I'm watching. I'm keeping an eye out because I drafted late tight end in a couple of my leagues. And so I'm going to be looking after this week, see how my guy plays, see how some of these other guys that are on the waiver wire play, and I might be making some moves at tight end after week 1. And Will Dissly or Greg Olsen, could be on that list. So, all right, in Atlanta, same deal with Atlanta. For me, I'm starting everybody. I'm starting all the starters, but that includes tight end for me. So, we're starting Matt Ryan, we're starting Todd Gurley, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Hayden Hurst. All these guys should be started this week. Seattle's front 7 is pretty thin. They're not going to get that much pressure. I think that's going to give Matt Ryan enough time to find the weapons out there, even though Seattle is improved in the secondary. I think if you give Ryan time with all those weapons, he's just going to be able to make it happen. I see a game where both teams score in the 30s, and there's going to be quite a lot of points put up here. So just don't hesitate. Even for the number 2s here, like DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, these guys, I know they were drafted to be starters, but they definitely are starters this week. So just don't overthink it. In this game, get your starters out there, get them playing, enjoy the points. I got Seattle, as I said earlier, Seattle's my pick to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. But this is a big game for both teams to set the tone early. Atlanta, started atrociously last year and then, I think went 6-2 to finish the season. So if they can, keep that momentum going, maybe they have a season where they can, fight for a playoff spot in a very tough division. But if they lose this game, they've got a tough schedule. I think it's going to be hard hard to come back. I know it's only one game, but I just don't see it going well if they can get this momentum here in this first game. They got to beat these teams, these top 6 teams. So, all right. Let's go to the other game where I have some skin in it. You can see it right here, the Buffalo Bills. So the Buffalo Bills are going to host the New York Jets. So this is for me every year. This is the game. Me and my dad. He's a Jets fan. I'm a Bills fan, and it's unfortunate, right? Because we have bad teams so often that we don't get a chance to get that excited about it. But for me, Buffalo has the inside track. People are saying to that playoff. To the divisional title this year, with Brady being gone from New England for the first time since I was born in 1981, basically. No, of course I'm kidding, but it's been a long time, and it's still going to be a battle for sure with New England for the title. And I don't think Buffalo's quite as good as their record said last year. I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll see. And this is where the season starts. They had a great matchup at home against a very thin Jets team. So. Let's talk about the Jets, and quite frankly, there's nobody on the team that I want to start this week. Lev Bell, who is drafted to be a starter, whether he's your flex, but maybe he's your RB2. Maybe he's not drafted to be a starter, but he would be in consideration, most weeks. For me, this is just not that week. We don't know how much Gase is going to let Gore go out there and play, and Buffalo's got a stout defense. That's just all it comes down to. I really don't want to play a lot of people against this Bills defense right now if I don't have to, until I see it. And with the Jets, I'm not trusting it. Even like Chris Herndon, who I really like as a sleeper, Buffalo's been so good against the tight end for the last few years now that I just can't trust it. Not yet. So, I'm sorry, you got to sit those guys. Darnold is not a streamer for me this week. Sitting Lev Bell. Not playing any receivers. Rashad Perryman, Jamison Crowder. None of these guys were on my radar. And Herndon, just because of how good Buffalo is against the tight end, is again off my radar. In Buffalo, listen, if you drafted Josh Allen, this is one of the great weeks to play him, right? It's a great matchup. I'm a little bit down on Allen myself. I know he's got the new weapon with Stephon Diggs and now Zach Moss in the backfield. A lot has to go right for them, to be a 10-win team and win that division. And at the end of the day, Josh Allen has to both make better decisions and then be much more accurate when he makes those decisions, especially down the field. Hopefully, Stephon Diggs does that. For me, I love what the Bills management team is doing, really trying to fill holes intelligently, in my opinion, unlike some other teams like the Bears and the Packers. I see them targeting their needs and then finding guys that fill those needs well. I would have liked to have seen a big-bodied receiver brought in. It's a rather diminutive set of receivers with Diggs, Brown, and Beasley. But, hey, if they're playing the speed game and they're going to air it out, Allen just has to get more accurate, and they could all of a sudden turn the corner and be a powerhouse offense, not a team that just wants to play defense and, kind of slow the game down. So, if you drafted Allen, you're playing him. For me this week, I'd play Devin Singletary, not Zach Moss. I do think Zach Moss very well could become the number 1 running back in this offense at some point during the year. He's going to be valuable in the fact that we think he's going to get maybe the goal line work. Some of those touchdowns that Josh Allen got, plus some of those high-value Frank Gore targets, Frank Gore carries inside the 5 and inside the 10 that he vacated. But, for me, I think for week 1, Singletary would be the running back I start. That being said, that's who I would start out of the 2 of them. I would hope I wouldn't be in a position where I have to start Singletary this week. I think there are better flex options out there that you can have. So that's probably what I would do. And, with the Buffalo receivers, you're going to play Diggs. Brown and Beasley could be playable as flex options, but I wouldn't be going there this week. I think Diggs is the only guy that you should have in your lineup. We're not looking at Dawson Knox yet in the year until we see him catch some passes, right? So he's not on the radar. So that's it. Not that many guys as you expect with the Jets-Bills. You don't expect that many starters to be in that game when you have games like Texans and the Chiefs, Seahawks and the Falcons, just to compare those first 2 games. So many more guys that need to be in your lineup and could be in your lineup than in a game like Jets-Bills right now. So we'll move right along here. Another game that I don't find that many guys that I need to play, that I must play. There's playable players, but not that many must-play guys here. So we're going to go to Detroit, where we have one of those old matchups here, the Chicago Bears visiting the Detroit Lions. And the Bears named Mitch Trubisky their starting quarterback. We know there's a little bit of question mark with the injuries there, right? David Montgomery still questionable with groin, limited participant in practice on Wednesday. I don't like it. I think you can absolutely bump up Tariq Cohen with this news about David Montgomery. He'll get a few extra carries because there's really not anybody else there to get them. So he'll get some extra carries. He'll get the passing work that he always gets, or not always, but he'll get some receptions. And I do think that Tariq Cohen very, very well could be your flex option and could be your RB2 option. I think he's going to get more usage than people think this week. He could easily be a 14, 15 point kind of guy. But doesn't mean he's going to be. I didn't target him in any of my drafts, certainly. And I got to see how much he's being played in DFS. He might be somebody I play in DFS for sure this weekend. But so going out to the receivers here in Chicago, Allen Robinson got to be in your lineup. I think that Anthony Miller is a sneaky play to score a touchdown here. I don't expect him to have that many receptions or targets, but he could have 4 or 5 receptions for 50, 60 yards and a touchdown, which would make him certainly a valuable wide receiver 3/flex. So I think that I might take the chance on Anthony Miller this week, and the fact that he could definitely score a touchdown, not touching a Bears tight end with a 10-foot stick. I don't want to touch a bear in the wild with a 10-foot stick, and I don't want to touch a Bears tight end with a 10-foot stick either. So yeah, not looking at you, Jimmy Graham. All right, in Detroit, you can play Matt Stafford, but it's not the best matchup to start. You didn't draft Stafford high, so you could play a streamer for week 1, whether it's a Tyrod Taylor against Cincinnati or somebody with a good matchup. Cam, if you didn't get drafted, is playing against Miami. Philip Rivers playing Jacksonville. Find one of those guys to stream this week. I would probably be off of Matthew Stafford. I'm off of the running backs, for this week. Kerryon Johnson will probably get his best opportunity of the year in his first week. So hopefully he shows out for himself. For me, I was really high on DeAndre Swift, and I'd like him to take over the job sooner than later. And, if Kerryon Johnson and Adrian Peterson aren't very good this week, that gives them a faster track to just going to DeAndre Swift and feeding him the ball. So for this week, I'm going to stay away from the Detroit backfield. Kenny Golladay, got to be in your lineup no matter what your expectations are for the week. I think Golladay just has to be in there. He's that kind of, matchup, and he only needs one play. So I got Golladay in the lineup. I'd be staying away from Marvin Jones. I'd be staying away from Amendola. And, this week I'd be staying away from Hawkinson. If you drafted him as your, late round, but your only tight end, then I guess you might have to play him. But if you have an option, I'd probably stay off of TJ Hawkinson. All right. So don't expect to play that many players. There's 2 games in a row. That's just how it is sometimes. There's some games that for fantasy you want everybody. Some games you don't want anybody there. So where are we going to now? We're going up north here. We're staying in the NFC North. The other divisional matchup is going to be the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Green Bay Packers. Lots of stories, lots of narratives in this matchup here. So we're going to start with Green Bay. Of course, the big story there, Aaron Rodgers. What's his season going to be like? So we know Aaron Rodgers, so that narrative is that he's going to have this big, kind of revenge, sort of spiteful FU season for, moving up to draft Jordan Love in the first round. And that could happen. Or he could just be a professional and at 38 still be trying to win a Super Bowl and, cement his legacy and could just play great because of that. And I think that's very possible. I think he's going to have a better year than he had last year. I've got him as my quarterback 10. He was my quarterback 8 for a minute. And then, about a week ago, just kind of crept down a little bit. And it's also also the other guys creeping up a little bit, right? So there's some of that. And there's very few points that, separate these guys for a whole season. So not a big drop for him, but I do still have Rodgers as a QB1. And I think a lot of people have Rodgers on their sit list for this week. And I totally understand it. But I would start Aaron Rodgers this week. There could be a better option. I don't have him as a top, 8 quarterback necessarily this week. But if you drafted him, then you probably don't have one of those top 8 quarterbacks. So I would play Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't be playing the streaming game if I have Aaron Rodgers on my bench, or if I have Aaron Rodgers in my QB slot this week. I'd play him at Minnesota. I know Minnesota's defense is not the same, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to find the end zone a couple of times. So yeah, I say you play Aaron Rodgers, you play Aaron Jones. In his first game, we'll see if A.J. Dillon has any kind of a role. He was, I think, listed as the third, fourth, or he was down there in the depth chart anyway. When it came out, I know that's not necessarily an indicator of carries for sure, especially not in week one. But Jamal Williams, don't want these guys on the field. Only Aaron Jones as far as the backfield goes. I'm very, very, very happy to play Aaron Jones, but I'm not playing another Packers running back. Devontae Adams, I'm extremely, extremely happy to play. And I think that Allen Lazard is absolutely a sleeper in your wide receiver 3 or your flex spot. I would put a decent amount chance that he gets into the end zone this week. And that's, very valuable. I think that's a big thing for him, is going to be getting to the end zone this year. And his value is going to be tied into his high-value targets. And there's going to be end zone targets from probably outside the 20, quite honestly. So I'm looking for him to have one of those this week. I'd like to have Allen Lazard in my lineup, and that's going to be it for me for the Packers. So I'd be playing Rodgers, Jones, Adams, and Lazard. Even, on the road against Minnesota, I still like those guys. Now in Minnesota, they've got their own drama with Dalvin Cook and his contract situation. It looks like as of now, he's not going to have an extension done before the season starts. He'll go into the final year of his rookie deal without a deal and without a long-term contract. So for him, we don't know for sure. They're saying he's going to be out there, but we don't know for sure. That's my point. There was enough drama that it's not guaranteed. And if he gets a little bit of an injury, will it cause him to be more cautious and sit out longer? We don't know. So, of course, I'm playing him. So when I'm looking at the Vikings, there's only 2 guys I'm playing for sure. It's Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen. I don't think there's any other must-play guys on this, in this game. Kirk Cousins is not on the streaming radar for me this week. Justin Jefferson is not yet on the flex wide receiver 3 radar for me. I think he very well might be by week 4 or week 5, but we haven't seen it yet. And at tight end, I think that the timeshare and the targets are going to start skewing in favor of Irv Smith. But with the amount of 2 tight end sets and just the amount of red zone value Kyle Rudolph has, I'm just not yet ready to play Irv Smith over Kyle Rudolph, but I don't want to play either because of the split. So not playing either tight end for Minnesota here, although I would love for Irv Smith to take over sooner than later. I think he has really big potential to be a big play type of tight end in this league. So, yep. So there's some guys you can play in that game. Green Bay and Minnesota, going to be a fun game. Always a fun game. Nice 1 o'clocker there. Okay, here's another interesting one. New England Patriots are hosting the Miami Dolphins. No shortage of storylines around here. With Miami, they have Tua on the bench. They drafted him, number 1? Now I don't remember. It's been so long. But no, they didn't draft him number 1. But they got their guy. They went ahead, they got Tua, and he's going to sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for the time being, to be determined. So we're going to get some points out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. I know the Patriots defense started off as an absolute terrorizing machine last year. But part of that was, they are very good, and part of that was a very light schedule. But we saw near the end of the year, their defense really came down to earth when they played better competition. That included Miami at the end of the year, who played really well and beat them. So yeah, they beat up on Miami early, but then they lost to them late. And New England had quite a lot of players opt out of the season this year, including Patrick Chung, some other guys. So, New England is just a different defense this year than they were last year. Still a good team. Still probably going to win this game. Just saying, don't be scared to play Dolphins. So, unfortunately, they're injured, right? So let's talk about the question marks. All the question marks with the Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick, you got to really have one of those guys that you like your quarterback, but it's a brutal matchup to start week 1. So you're looking for a streamer, and even then Fitzpatrick is not near the top of that list for me. Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, got to wait and see. Hopefully in week 1 you're not in that position. If I had to play one, I'd be playing Jordan Howard, but hopefully you're not there. Now the bigger question is, if we're not talking about injuries here, I'd be fine playing both Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. I have pretty high hopes for both those guys. Unfortunately, they're both questionable. Preston Williams with a knee. So a little bit of knee injury for Preston Williams. He was a limited participant in practice. We know Parker's had the hamstring for what feels like the whole preseason at this point. So we don't know about Devontae Parker. Mike Gesicki was limited because of an injury to his glute. So they're hurting right now. I mean, they're hurting, let alone the fact that Mike Gesicki was not listed as the number one tight end on the depth chart. Again, I understand, especially before week 1, that depth chart is very, pretty much meaningless, right? But I don't know. I just don't know why you do that. I mean, he's a sleeper, and I still like him. I didn't draft him anywhere. And now I'm kind of happy I didn't, even though I'm still, hopeful for his season. But I did, however, draft Cam Newton in one of my leagues, one of my important leagues, One of my leagues I really want to win. I want to win everything. I want to win free games, everything. But, let's be honest here. We all know, right? I don't have kids, but I probably have a favorite one. And, this league is one of my favorite kids. So I waited on quarterback. I had the 12th pick. I was at the turn. So there was still, I think it was like the 7th round. I think I was making the 6-7 turn. I know, I think that's right. So it must have been the 5-6 turn. And I don't remember. Either way, who cares? 5-6 or 6-7, 7-8. Either way, there was like 4 or 5 quarterbacks I still liked, and like 10 teams had already drafted a quarterback, or 9 teams. I think it was myself and 2 other teams that didn't have a quarterback. So I thought, well, let me do some quick math here in my big head, and I like 5 guys, and only like 3 other teams need a quarterback. So I'm gonna get one of the guys that I like. I'm gonna wait it out and fill out some depth on my bench. And then boom, like 5 teams took a backup quarterback, like whatever round that was. Like it was early. It was like round 8. It wasn't early, maybe like round 8. But it's one of those stories where it keeps changing like every time, right? And now it's round 8. Yeah. So round 8, I think everyone took like a backup quarterback, and so either way, I wound up with Cam Newton. I'm not extremely confident about the ability to play him all year by any means, but I put myself in that position. I think he's one of the better 1-week starts you're going to get right now, right? You're playing at home against the Dolphins, and I'm interested to see what happens. I think he's as good of a play as any. I think he should be ranked as a QB1 this week because of the team he's playing against. So I'm playing, Cam Newton. I think you should play him if you have him. I would play him over some other questionable, quarterback starters because of their matchups. There are guys I'd be playing him over, that is for sure. So think about it that way. I think you definitely might want to have him in your lineup. He's going to be in mine. In the backfield, we know it's a mess, and we know throughout the year there's going to be different guys that are used. But I think James White is the guy to play. He's going to get more carries than usual. He'll get the receptions. I was more worried about James White until I went back and saw, the amount of passes that Cam Newton was throwing to Christian McCaffrey and running backs before that in his Carolina days. And I don't know why I kind of felt like I remembered him not utilizing the running back position as far as passing to them. But the numbers didn't bear that out. So I do think that James White is very, very playable in your flex. Hopefully you have a better option. I'm not expecting him to have a huge week, but you absolutely can play him. If you have him on your bench and you're thinking about it, he definitely gets my stamp of flex approval for the week. And I wouldn't be playing any of the wide receivers until I see what happens here, honestly. It's obviously between Julian Edelman and I think really N'Keal Harry as the only 2 guys that will be startable for week 1. And I want to see who Cam leans on. I have a feeling it's going to be N'Keal Harry, but I'm not willing to put him in my lineup for week 1. In DFS is a very cheap, maybe contrarian play. This is something I might look at, to be honest. N'Keal Harry is somebody that will cost you nothing in DFS more than likely and could be out of nowhere have 10, 12 targets this week. It definitely could happen, I'm just saying. So keep an eye on it. But for this week, I'm playing Cam Newton. I can play James White. I don't have to. And that's it for the Patriots. I'm in wait-and-see mode on New England. So, all right, let's go to the nation's capital, Washington, where the Washington football team club squad will be hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Another divisional matchup here. Lots of them in week 1. So the Washington football team, Dwayne Haskins going to be starting here against Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz, this for me is kind of a make or break year. I feel bad for him that his weapons keep dropping like flies, but he has the talent to be top tier, and I think this is the year it has to happen. I have him having a pretty big season. I think he's my QB 8 right now on the year, and it's just the rushing baseline. If he had, more rushing yards, he could maybe jump into that top 5. But I have him throwing for maybe close to 4,500 yards and 32 touchdowns. So pretty big season for Carson Wentz here coming. Even without the weapons, he's going to make it happen. I have faith in him. So definitely playing Carson Wentz at Washington this week, no doubt. Get him in your lineup. Miles Sanders, I know he's got the injury. I know it's questionable, but you drafted him in the first round. I think he'll get enough work this weekend to be worth it. I'm playing Miles Sanders in one of my big leagues, so I'm trying to give you the confidence to also. Just remember to keep listening, right? Keep listening. If they say anything, hopefully you have Boston Scott, because if Miles Sanders is out, then Boston Scott is in line to maybe have a monstrous week. If he's completely out. If he's limited, just kind of see what they're saying and see how you feel about it. Right now, I'm in the camp that I think Sanders will get enough work week 1, and he's going to be in my lineup. Boston Scott is possibly flexible also, even with the Miles Sanders injury. Without it, should get enough work that he could be, a 10-point guy in a PPR league. But if Miles Sanders is out, Boston Scott becomes one of my plays of the week. So keep an eye on that. And that's it for me for Philly. I mean, you're sorry. Excuse me, I spoke too quickly. You're playing Zach Ertz. So, yeah, tight end, you're starting Zach Ertz. That's a no-brainer. With the injuries to the wide receivers, he's in line to get a full share of targets as he has in years past. He won't be the most efficient, but he's going to get you the targets. He's going to be a PPR monster, it looks like, for the first part of the year. And I'm skipping Deshaun Jackson personally. I know he had that big week 1 last year, and I know they don't have anybody else to really throw to right now because we're looking at Jalen Reagor as, possibly injured, and Alshon Jeffrey's definitely not going to be there. So I get the thought process that Deshaun Jackson could be in for a big week 1. I totally understand it, especially against Washington, not a great team. Who else is Wentz going to throw to? I'm not willing to make that bet this week, and I definitely could be wrong. Again, Deshaun Jackson could ball out, bro. Could have a monster, but I'm not going to bet my money on it. In Washington, you can play some guys. I mean, Antonio Gibson is going to be a year-long lottery pick, right? So people are not sure what's going to happen with him. He could be one of the league winners of the year. Could be nothing going on there. But for right now, with everything that we're seeing, there's no reason to think Gibson's not going to get a decent, workload, especially in week 1, right? So, obviously Dwayne Haskins, I don't want to say obviously, but he's not on my radar for playing or streaming right now. But Antonio Gibson, if you're that person that, wants to swing big for whatever reason in week 1, then Antonio Gibson is definitely one of those few guys that you can do that with. And his range of outcomes for week 1 is extraordinarily broad. Maybe one of the widest in the leagues at running backs. So, yeah, that's up to you. Other than that, you're playing Terry McLaurin. I think that you have to, right? He's the number 1 target on that offense by far, and his talent is immense. And it's just hard to not have him on the field. He'll probably be lined up against Darius Slay, so he's going to be in for a tough matchup. But I do think Haskins will try to force the ball there into him enough times that even if there is an interception or 2 because of it, that he's still going to keep feeding McLaurin. I think he's going to have enough work to play there. But there's no other sleepers I'm looking at on Washington. I'm not going there yet. I'm not even going to try to bring up the Steven Sims of the world and Logan Thomas. Let's not go there yet. Let's just keep this. Let's keep it simple, stupid. For week 1, right? We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. All right. Last game on the docket for today's show. Oh yeah, it's a pretty one here. No, not really. So we got the Las Vegas Raiders visiting the Carolina Panthers. So, this could be one of those sneaky games, right? Because you got 2 teams that aren't that good, and you're going to have some points scored. It's really kind of identifying where the points are going to be. I think Derek Carr is as good of any as a streaming option this week. Again, just if you're in that position where you like your quarterback, but he's in a brutal, week 1 matchup, and you just don't want to roll him out there. I think Derek Carr is a guy you can this week against Carolina. I like it. Carolina's defense is going to be bad, baby, bad. and you're going to be able to throw on him for sure. So I think you can play Derek Carr. Again, I'm not advocating it. I'm not saying, hey, sit, Drew Brees for Derek Carr, or Kyler Murray or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you're wishy-washy with who you're playing week 1, maybe you have Ben Roethlisberger, and you're kind of wishy-washy, I'd say, yeah, I'd be fine with that, coin flip of playing Derek Carr, over Ben Roethlisberger in week 1, Jared Goff, right, somebody like that who you're waiting and seeing. I like this matchup. Josh Jacobs, no doubt, rolling out there, bell cow back, great, gonna touch the ball a lot, happy times. Henry Ruggs, I'm definitely, wanting to play Henry Ruggs in week 1. I got to find room for him because, where you drafted him, you have other wide receivers that are supposed to outscore and outperform him right off the bat. Now, I just think the way things are shaking out with Tyrell Williams gone for the year, that Henry Ruggs is going to be the big play guy here. You'll have Waller underneath. You'll have some Josh Jacobs sprinkled in, but I do think that it's going to be a lot of targets. It's not going to be like a, 75 target season. I think it's very possible he's going to have 125 targets. I know that's a big number, but it's very possible Ruggs gets that kind of numbers. So I'm playing Ruggs this week. I'm playing Darren Waller this week, and that's about it. So, there you go. You can play Derek Carr. You have to play Josh Jacobs. You should play Henry Ruggs. And you definitely have to play Darren Waller. So that's it for them. Carolina, let's take a guess on who you got to play there. Yeah, there's only one guy. You got to play Christian McCaffrey. Bridgewater, I'm going to wait and see how he performs in this offense before I start talking about him in a flex position. So I'm going to wait on that. But Christian McCaffrey, of course, is the number one no-brainer. Got to play him. On the outside here, definitely playing DJ Moore. He's going to be the main target getter. The closer we get to the season, the more I'm warming up on DJ Moore. I'm just thinking about Bridgewater and how many years he's been sitting there and watch Drew Brees absolutely pepper Michael Thomas. Am I saying DJ Moore is Michael Thomas? No. Am I saying for sure that he can't be? No, I'm not going to say that either. DJ Moore has an intense level of talent, even for the NFL, and very well could be a top 3, top 5 kind of guy in the next couple of years if their rapport builds like that. But I do think DJ Moore could be a 150 target kind of guy, and that starts this week at home. They're going to want to look to cement that connection, I think, right away, and he's going to be a target machine for week 1. So play DJ Moore. I'm not going to play Robbie Anderson yet. I'm not going to play Curtis Samuel. I want to see the usage. I want to see who Bridgewater leans to. And there's no reason to in week 1 for me. Those guys are too far down the list. Not playing them. Not looking at Ian Thomas yet either as a sleeper. So, he's someone that throughout the year might emerge, but there's no reason to think about it yet. There's enough tight ends that I expect to have good week 1s that there's really just no reason to think about Ian Thomas. So for me, with Carolina, all I'm really playing is Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. Everyone else on that team is in a wait and see kind of mode for me. I don't need to play them yet. Want to see what happens, even against a team like Vegas, which is not, expected to be one of the better teams. They got a decent pass rush, but we'll see. So, all right. Well, listen, that's the last matchup we're gonna do. That's half of the games. That's 8, if I can count correctly. Right, there are 16 games, and that's 8. That should be half. Pretty impressive, I know. Thank you very much. So, yeah. But all right. So listen, I'm gonna get out of here. I got a lot of work to do before the game starts tonight. I mean, got to clean the house. Got to get some snacks ready. Got to do a bunch of stuff. Got to go to the liquor store. Got to pregame. Listen, we got football. That's the point. We got football tonight, not tomorrow, not next week, not maybe, not hopefully, not cross our fingers. Tonight, in just a few hours, we're gonna have NFL football, man. So I'm trying to keep it low key, but I am freaking excited. You know that. I'm pumped. So that's going to do it for us today. Again, join us tomorrow, Friday, for the second half of our Week 1 preview. Get to all the other games. Get to your starts and sits, all your injury questions. We're going to get there. But tonight, make sure you play your Texans and your Chiefs. Should be plenty of points in that game this evening. Make sure you watch us on YouTube. If you do that, please subscribe to the channel. It's a big, big one for us, trying to get as many subscriptions as we can. Like and share it on any of your social media pages that you're willing to. hey, it all helps. We appreciate it, trying to have some fun here and get some listeners here and keep this going. If you want to listen only, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to watch this high production and beautiful face. But if you want to listen only, you can now do that on all the major podcasting platforms. Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, all of those. You can definitely find us on every one of them. Okay, so all right, y'all, have a great day. Enjoy game 1 of the NFL season. It's going to be an awesome one. I might be a little bit, I might be struggling a little bit tomorrow morning. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have some fun tonight, but I'll be here with you to talk about the rest of the game, get you ready for the weekend. All right, baby, football time. Have a good one.